In the vast expanse of the Western Pacific, the South China Sea has emerged as one of the world's most dangerous and consequential flashpoints, a region where tensions simmer just below the surface, threatening to boil over at any moment. This is not just a regional dispute between neighboring countries, it's a global artery, a lifeline for economies around the world. Every year, a staggering 1/3 of the world's maritime trade, valued at over $3 trillion, flows through these strategic waters, connecting factories, markets, and consumers across continents. The world's economy, from the price of everyday goods to the stability of global supply chains, depends on these shipping lanes staying open, safe, and secure. Yet, beneath the surface, a tense and high-stakes geopolitical drama is quietly unfolding, with the potential to disrupt peace and prosperity far beyond Asia. China and the Philippines are locked in a complex struggle over sovereignty, natural resources, and the very rules that govern the international order. Filipino supply boats, on critical missions, face overwhelming force from Chinese Coast Guard vessels, which use water cannons and dangerous maneuvers to intimidate, block, and sometimes even damage them. Each incident, captured on video and broadcast worldwide, raises the stakes and pushes both nations and their allies closer to direct confrontation, with the world watching anxiously. This is more than a dispute over isolated rocks and reefs. It's a test of international law and of whether rules or raw power will shape the future. The Philippines, armed with a landmark legal victory at The Hague, insists on the rule of law and the importance of upholding international agreements. China, meanwhile, asserts what it calls indisputable sovereignty over nearly the entire sea, dismissing international rulings and strengthening its presence. The world watches, knowing that the outcome of this struggle will ripple far beyond these contested waters, affecting global security and the balance of power. The South China Sea is a story about the future. Will shared principles and international cooperation prevail? Or will might and power decide the fate of nations? The actions taken here are shaping not just the region, but the entire geopolitical landscape of the 21st century, with consequences that will be felt for generations to come. The South China Sea conflict is rooted in centuries of history and shifting national narratives, shaped by the ebb and flow of empires, trade, and migration. For generations, the sea was a shared space for fishermen and traders from many cultures, with little sense of fixed boundaries or exclusive ownership. That changed dramatically in the 20th century as modern nation-states emerged, and the strategic value of sea lanes, fisheries, and natural resources grew. After World War II, newly independent nations like the Philippines formalized claims based on geography, proximity, and international law, seeking to secure their maritime rights. China, meanwhile, points to ancient maps and historical texts as evidence of long-standing jurisdiction, viewing the sea as a traditional domain central to its heritage. The discovery of oil and gas in the 1970s transformed the dispute into a high-stakes competition for valuable resources, drawing in more regional and global attention. Nations began occupying features, building structures, and stationing troops on previously uninhabited islands, escalating tensions and solidifying their presence. What was once a quiet maritime backwater became a crowded, contested arena, with constant activity and growing international concern. This set the stage for today's intense confrontations, where every move is watched and every incident can spark global headlines. At the heart of China's position is the Nine-Dash Line, a sweeping U-shaped claim first drawn in 1947. It covers about 90% of the South China Sea, overlapping the EEZs of Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and the Philippines. China argues this line reflects historical rights and sovereignty, citing ancient maps and continuous presence. But under modern international law, specifically UNCLOS, which China ratified, these claims have no legal basis. To enforce its claim, China has built and militarized artificial islands, especially in the Spratlys. These outposts now host runways, radar, ports, and missiles, turning paper claims into military reality. The result, a direct conflict between China's historical narrative and the international legal order. The Philippines counters China's claims with international law, grounded in UNCLOS. As an archipelago, the Philippines is entitled to a 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone, covering vital fishing grounds and resources. Much of this EEZ falls within China's 9-dash line, including areas like Reed Bank and Scarborough Shoal. For the Philippines, this is about economic survival and sovereignty. In 2013, Manila took China to international arbitration, seeking legal clarity, not ownership, over maritime entitlements. The 2016 tribunal ruled overwhelmingly in the Philippines' favor, rejecting China's 9-dash line. China dismissed the ruling, refusing to recognize it. The standoff now pits Philippine legal rights against China's military might. Second Thomas Shoal, or Ayungin Shoal, is now the epicenter of confrontation. The Philippines maintains a tiny outpost there, the BRP Sierra Madre, supplied by risky missions. Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia routinely intercept and harass Philippine supply boats using gray zone tactics, shadowing, blocking, and water cannons. These actions aim to intimidate and exhaust the Philippines into abandoning its claim without open conflict. In March 2024, a Philippine supply boat was battered by water cannons, forcing an aborted mission and injuring crew. The Philippines condemned the attack. China called it law enforcement. Manila documents these incidents with embedded journalists, releasing footage to counter China's narrative. For Filipino crews, these missions are harrowing but seen as patriotic duty. Despite overwhelming odds, they persist in defending their country's rights. The standoff at sea is a daily, dangerous reality. Facing China's power, President Marcos Jr. has adopted a bold transparency strategy. By embedding journalists on patrols, Manila ensures every confrontation is documented and broadcast globally. This footage exposes China's coercive tactics, making denial difficult and raising international awareness. The government rapidly releases official statements and evidence, shaping the global narrative. The goal: build international support and pressure China to restrain its actions. If China escalates, it risks global backlash. If it restrains itself, the Philippines gains room to operate. Manila is using information as a strategic equalizer. The Philippines has revitalized its alliance with the United States, anchored by a 1951 mutual defense treaty. Washington now explicitly states that attacks on Philippine forces in the South China Sea would trigger U.S. defense commitments. This security guarantee deters China from escalating to open conflict. Joint U.S.-Philippine military exercises have expanded, focusing on maritime security and coastal defense. The Philippines is also building partnerships with Japan, Australia, and European powers who support a rules-based order. These alliances create a web of deterrence, signaling to China that its actions are a global concern. Ironically, China's assertiveness is driving regional nations closer to the U.S. and its allies. For Manila, these partnerships provide crucial security and diplomatic support. The Philippines-China conflict has global consequences. The South China Sea is a vital commercial waterway. Over $3 trillion in trade passes through each year. Any disruption could cripple supply chains and destabilize the world economy. The dispute also tests the international legal system, especially UNCLOS. China's rejection of the 2016 tribunal ruling undermines the rule of law at sea. For Filipino fishing communities, the conflict is personal. They're often chased from traditional grounds, their livelihoods at risk. ASEAN has struggled to present a united front, with some members wary of angering China. This division weakens regional stability and increases the risk of miscalculation. A minor incident could escalate, drawing in the U.S. and destabilizing Southeast Asia. The stakes are high for the region and the world. Both the Philippines and China are carefully managing escalation, using non-lethal tactics to avoid outright war. Each side is acutely aware of the risks that even a minor incident could spiral into a larger conflict, so restraint is the order of the day. China relies on water cannons and maritime militia, stopping short of military force to avoid triggering the U.S.-Philippine Defense Treaty. These calculated moves allow China to assert its claims while minimizing the chance of direct confrontation with the United States. The Philippines responds with assertive transparency, publicizing China's actions to raise international costs for Beijing. By shining a spotlight on these incidents, Manila seeks to rally global support and put diplomatic pressure on China. This information warfare keeps the issue in the legal and diplomatic arena, not the battlefield. The battle for public opinion and legitimacy is as fierce as any naval standoff. Diplomatic channels remain open, with ongoing talks, even as fundamental disagreements persist. Both sides understand that dialogue, however difficult, is essential to prevent miscalculation and maintain stability. Efforts to negotiate a code of conduct continue, providing a safety valve for crisis management. Regional cooperation, though slow, offers hope for a more predictable and peaceful future. The future remains uncertain, with both risk and opportunity ahead. Local communities, whose lives depend on these waters, watch anxiously as events unfold. The world watches as leaders in Manila, Beijing, and Washington shape the fate of this vital waterway. Every decision made here has global implications, affecting trade, security, and regional stability. Will diplomacy and law prevail, or will the region slide toward conflict? The stakes could not be higher for all involved. The next moves will determine the future of the South China Sea, setting the tone for peace or confrontation in the years to come.